And there's a lot of different ways of doing it. But when it comes to Tai Chi, it's looking for specific things to help you with the performance of it. And I don't mean just the showmanship of it. I mean the power of it, the silkiness of it. So what I found that's worked a lot very well here recently is just taking a stick of almost any size. she she looks like out of the Lord of the Rings. You shall not pass. Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah. Okay. So, yeah, Carrie. Yeah. All right. But if you took and first just placed it right above your hips, below your belly button. Okay. And it doesn't matter how many times I do this exercise. It's a good reminder of practicing it. So the first thing I'm going to turn to the side for a minute is just look and go, okay, can you be upright and have the stick fairly parallel to the earth? Okay. Now, when you're posting or the first part of your Tai Chi, a lot of folks, don't fall into the right posture right off the bat. And it's simply just bend the knees a notch. Okay. You see it go down. Okay. And the reason I say that is because a lot of people will do this. They just tuck the rear end, or if it was me, you would have seen this. I would have hitched my hips. I would have popped it out. So being able to have that feeling going, okay, can I just, for God's sake, raise this up and down just a little bit, straight up and down, maybe just an inch. Okay. Then from here, we practice sliding. I'm gonna turn this way. There you go. Thank you, Ryan. Now you'll notice that when you're sliding, you have some latitude as far as the distance of your feet. But the main thing is that when you're sliding, you want to feel that the stick stays parallel to the earth or the floor, whatever you're working on. If you feel it going up and down, you're bobbing. Okay. Yes, make sure it's touching you. Right. Don't hold it away from you. Yeah, I was doing that to Zach, wasn't it? Was that? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So making sure that it is touching your abdomen, because when you touch yourself with anything, it puts a level of consciousness there. Right. So this is a slide. Okay. This is a lowering. Okay. Then we have rotation. And in rotation, we can turn to the left or right. And notice that when I'm turning right now, my center of gravity isn't changing. Okay. And again, it should stay parallel to the earth. All right. Looking pretty good. All right. Keep your head, if you can, these next 5 or 6 reps, keep your head 45 degrees straight. Look straight down, 45 degrees. Keep your head still and still move your body and still rotate. Kathy, keep your head still. Okay. This is why we practice, because what we think we're doing and what physically happens. But see Bob? Look at Bob. Now is his head moving? No, it's just you have to practice it, right? But to keep it so you can rotate without spinning your head is another part of your exercise. Okay. There's times where you're going to have your head stay perfectly still and you're going to rotate your body around it. You do it all the time in the form. And then there's other times where your head is moving with your shoulders as it goes around. Okay. That's a good question to ask yourself sometimes when you're doing the form. Is your head still or am I moving? Or am I rotating my body around my head? Or is my head in concert with my shoulders? All right. So if you're not sure, then that's a good question to ask yourself. All right. Now, the next part of this exercise was to take and become very attentive to being able to slide and rotate at the same time. Slide and rotate at the same time, right? And ideally, what I mean by at the same time is that it finishes at the same time. So I slide and rotate, and that finishes at the same time. Of course, when you're sliding, your head is going to move, but ideally, it still stays somewhat up front. Your attention still stays somewhat up front. Good. And for several of you, I can see just by the level of consciousness that you're putting into your work, this is like a moving meditation all by itself. Okay. Do you have any questions from there? No? Do you feel like you're learning something about yourself? Attentive to yourself? Okay, good. Pop out into a bow stance. I don't care which leg is front. So you start in the rear weight. And I want you to practice just what we've always practiced. I want you to bump yourself forward just a bit and then slide and rotate so that you finish at the same time. And then bring it back. Slide and rotate, bring it back. Okay. Make sure that you have a little bit of that fall forward, just a little bit, and then slide and rotate. When you try to rotate, you're doing a good job, Karen. Don't try to overturn it, okay? So when you come to the front and you finish to the front, your staff is not going to be perpendicular to where your toe is, okay? If you do that, you're doing too much. It's going to end up being about 30 degrees off of that line. But when you go back, it's almost 90. It's close to 75 to 80. That's that's the window of movement you're looking for. Okay, because when I come back, you'll see the gate. If I put it all the way, you see the gate swing, but it's not parallel. And when I come back, so it's like an old cow fence. Okay. Good. Let's get in a few more reps. Good. Okay, let's switch feet. That's it. Good, Bob. All right. All right. Take a moment. Now, one of the things that I would encourage you to consider when we talk about practice, I mean, you could go through, for example, just we do a hands-free form, but you could go through the whole fire set and just practice making sure you know where your waist is supposed to go each and every time. And it would help you immensely because a lot of you have a propensity to let your hands lead your body rather than your body leading your hands. So let's look at that aspect. You can drop your sticks for a minute because now it's time for the torture. Okay. Right. So a lot of times, if I'm working with a balanced patient, for example, most folks, particularly as they age, they have a lack of core strength, or if they've been sick or had bariatric surgery or something like that that's interrupted the fascia of the abdomen, their core is usually shaky or weak, right? And we have a numbers of exercises that we might do with them, but this one actually translates very well over into Tai Chi. Um, you want to be able to feel your waist move like you just did, but then now we have to get back to the orientation of it leads the movement most of the time for you all right now. It doesn't follow the movement, right? And so to do that, what I thought we'd do is a little exercise. I haven't even shown this one to Ryan, so he's going to be learning as y'all do. All right. So what you're going to do, it's going to be somewhat like a long bow stance, except what I want you to do is you're going to get up and put your weight up front. Okay. And this toe is just barely touching it. Okay. Just for your balance and support. Now, just before we do anything, all I want you to do is turn your waist inside just a little bit, and you'll feel this hip pull down on the other one. You feel that? Okay. Don't turn your knee, Karen. Okay. If you turn your knee, it's going to hurt. Okay. So, I don't want your knee to turn. This leg stays stable. And it's just a simple movement. I don't want your knee falling and things like that. Okay. That feeling of when you get it gripped is exactly what you should feel almost every time you're doing a technique, whether it's brush knee, parting horse's mane, single whip. It's got to feel like it closes and that it leads the movement, not that it gets drug out by your hand. All right. So what I want you to do, and I do this exercise pretty regularly in a number of different situations, but I thought I'd just translate it over to here, is get into that stance again, please. And I'll come up with a name for it later. It looks like a running stance, but all right. So reel the silk back and then brush knee. Reel it back. When you reel back, you'll feel it open a little bit. Now, before you go forward, feel the hip pull out the technique, and then the hip pulls it back. If it starts to burn a little bit, there's no extra charge for that. Just let the bacon cook. Do one more. Good. Take a little break. All right. First of all, that was a challenge, wasn't it? Okay. Well, if you don't feel the hip thing, then you need to get your hands back out of it again, right? Because what's happening is a lot of times, as soon as they get involved, they take over. They're like little Napoleons, right? They try to take over everything once they see it, right? So once you get in there, it's just real easy to get back to just here and just feel it close and open. And it's a small movement. And that's part of what makes it so challenging, because we're talking maybe half an inch. Yeah. Well, right in here, you'll feel this grip. And that's why this leg is straight, because now you can't move it. Okay. And your weight's on it. So with that, you can turn your belly button in a little bit and open it back up, and you can feel that little bit of collapse. Okay. And anything I should add to it to help you describe that feeling? It's like chicken. You can't describe it. You actually have to eat it. Right.
Don't let your butt fall out.
Well, yeah, there's.
Otherwise, it's easy to go, oh, it's moving out.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not going side to side, but it comes back.
Yeah. So his translated the abominations that occur because your mind isn't keeping everything else still, is trying to force some level of performance. Okay. Because you can do it and kind of throw your hip out. What were some of the other things that you may have noticed when you added the hands to it? The one thing that I notice all the time, regardless of technique I practice, is that when I'm in this stance and I'm practicing this framework, is that everything's real tight, right? There's not enough latitude to be sliding and swaying and losing the integrity of my stance. The other thing is that when, regardless if I'm coming back or forward, when I come forward or back, I'm in almost like perfect balance, right? I'm not allowed to, oh, that doesn't feel good, right? Because I've arched back, right? Everything has to open a little bit, close a little bit, open a little bit, close a little bit. Okay. Let's do the other side. It's not fair to do one leg and not the other. We'll do about 10 reps. So let's just start in your brush knee, get into your stance. And let's roll back and forward. Good. When I get here, I imagine my hip closes down and then the hands just follow right after it. The same way coming back. Woo. Good. Any observations on that one? Yes. Yeah. The knee, from the knee to the ankle, stays straight up and down. For me, the thing that happens, particularly on that technique, is that your white snake stretches out has to be good. Okay. You can't have that lackadaisical, when you get out here and then your hand just kind of spins around. As soon as it does, you're out of balance. So when you pull it back, it has to come back through the hip and up and over and then out. And you can't go too far out this way or you fall over. You can't go too far this way. They need to finish together. And you'll feel exactly how far you can go today, right? And that slows you down so that you can feel what it is that you're trying to get to, right? That's the main thing. So, regardless of how much form you learn, it doesn't, like Kathy was working on, all this earlier, right? Just working on this part, you can feel the hips in here. If your hands are moving the hips, it's a long, long road, but it takes time. Trust me, we know. All right. So, any questions? No? Okay. All right. So we're going to do a little bit posting to finish because I haven't done this with y'all in a little bit. So you ready, Bruce? All right. Touchdown. Got you. All right. Let the hands float. Again, when you come down, lower that stick, bend those knees a notch. Take about 3 to 5 breaths. And while you're there, just check yourself. Is your balance distributed evenly? Spine upright? Let your hands float. Level your heart. Imagine if you can for a few moments that you're standing on two hot coals in the middle of each foot. Like the lava from the earth is risen up to the surface, and the bottoms of your feet have opened up as a portal. As you exhale this next time, let it fill up your feet all the way up to your ankles. As you exhale this next time or so, let it rise up to your knees. Like mercury in a thermometer, the hotter it gets, the higher it rises. Now from your knees up to your hips, remembering that it's entering from the bottoms of your feet. Remembering that as the lava rises, it burns away the sickness, it burns away the sadness, and it burns away the stress. Let it rise from your hips up to your shoulders. Gradually as you exhale. And it begins to spill over and roll down your shoulders toward your elbows. From your elbows to your fingertips. Now that the body is packed, begins to rise up through the neck, gently through the head, if your body feels hot, or if you feel heat accumulating in places, it's okay. Now that the whole body is full, the body ignites the bones like the timber. And you're no longer hot because you don't feel the flame. You are the flame. Very good. Take a few slow breaths. As you breathe in this next time, I'd like for you to reach out. Exhale, pull the hands in. Open the backside as if you were standing back to back with yourself, looking in the other direction. Tuck your thumb lightly, fold it up. Stand up nice and tall. Good. Excellent. All right. That last part is what we would just refer to as a mind scene. So a lot of times when you're posting, we have numbers and numbers of mind scenes. In fact, we have one that goes continuously. We call it the 5-element posting. And it takes probably about half an hour if you do it. Yeah. So we may do a whole mental meal on the 5-element posting. That'd be a good one. But you can use the fire as a way of just, settling mind and then go into whatever it is that you're working on. Okay. All right.